Hey folks, this is Rhykker, reporting live from Blizzcon 2023. We just had the Diablo 4 Campfire chat, which went over some new details about the upcoming expansion, plus new content coming to Season 2, and a teaser at Season 3 as well. In case you missed it, yesterday I did a live stream from the show floor, and D4 game director Joe Shelley came by for an interview. I've uploaded that interview, do check it out. Got some insight in some developer thoughts throughout our talk, but in this video here, we're going to go over what we learned about everything new coming to Diablo 4. We started off by getting a sneak peek at the first expansion, Vessel of Hatred, which is coming in late 2024. This is taking us to a brand new place in Sanctuary that's going to be a stark contrast to the gothic settings we've been exploring so far. It'll be a mix of the familiar and the nostalgic for those of us who've played Diablo 2. Now, in the teaser trailer, we do hear someone praying to Akarat and Mephisto saying there will be no salvation in the light. I wonder if that's a teaser that the upcoming class is going to be some kind of holy class, but more on that in a bit. They spoke about how the expansion is a great opportunity to take one big cohesive step forward. They want all the new content to fit together. Now, narratively, we left off with Narelle traveling south. That was confirmed. I don't think we previously knew what direction she was traveling, but now we know she's traveling south with Mephisto's Soul Stone, or with the stone that has Mephisto in it. They specified that she has been challenging the influence of Mephisto, and that the Haradrim have always failed at challenging the primevals. We know that you'll be able to jump straight into the new chapter if you're a new player. You don't have to play the original storyline, but you could choose to do so. They also let slip that Mephisto apparently did not intend to be trapped in the Soul Stone. I was previously speculating whether this was Big Brain Mephisto's 4D chess move all along, to trick Narelle into putting his essence in that Soul Stone, but their comments seem to suggest otherwise. They stated that every step she has made, he has been pushing against her. Again, this sort of goes against my theories that Mephisto is masterminding his return to his seat of power in Travancore. But this expansion will address what is Mephisto's fate and what will happen to Narelle. Now, the place we're visiting in Expansion 1 is the Toioiz jungles. However, it's going to go by a new name, Nantu. And the reason for this is going to be explained in-game lore, that basically outside of the region, people call it the Toioiz jungles, but those from that region call it Nantu. And this is because apparently the Toioiz people are people in real life, and they want to be more inspired by real-life cultures as opposed to outright just stealing a real-life culture. As a lore nerd, this is a nice solution to handling this. So apparently Nantu has been closed off from Sanctuary and what's been happening with Lilith, but now its doors are open, both proverbial and literal. It has these giant monolithic doors, these gates that have now opened. They spoke about how the jungle is this character of its own. It's reclaiming new things that have come in, but has this symbiotic relationship with things that have been there all along. They really showed off the depth and scale and age of the jungle. We're just this tiny little thing walking on these giant branches. We're gonna visit Kurast. It's this iconic place in the heart of the jungle, this sprawling city across the whole jungle. We're gonna revisit those Kurast docks from Diablo 2. It's been 72 years though since the events of D2. They did hint at us potentially running into familiar characters. However, 72 years is many years. Logically, everyone's probably dead, but they're gonna probably cheat in the same way they did with some other characters they did in the campaign, or most probably found some magic way to live to be 128 years old. Who knows? We're gonna revisit the temple city of Travancore. That's where the Haradrim originally imprisoned Mephisto. We're going to go under Travancore, under the Ziggurat. We're going to revisit these familiar locales, probably in a bigger way than we ever have before. There's also going to be a new class. They didn't reveal what it is. They said it's not a witch doctor. They said it is a brand new class. And they said that they've delivered 5 classic classes, and they felt a sort of responsibility to build something new now. Again, we had that sort of teaser about Akarat. Now, everyone's thinking Paladin or Crusader. I don't think it's going to be a sword and board class. I think if it was going to be a Paladin or Crusader, they wouldn't be saying a brand new class. Even if it's going to be something that is in spirit, a Paladin and Crusader, a sword and board holy man, but they don't call it that, I don't think that's technically a brand new class. So it could still be some kind of holy class, but it's not going to be a sword and board guy. That's all the details we got on the new expansion and the new class, but we also found out stuff about more content coming to Season 2. On November 7th, we are getting 5 new rings added to the game, each with some kind of class-specific malignant power from Season 1. This is their way of bringing back past content that was successful. And this stuff is going to come to the Eternal Realm as well, not just to the season. Now, they had to make some tweaks to some of these items to make them work. We're going to be getting these from defeating Varshan, one of those new Ubers. Of course, Varshan himself returning from Season 1. The Rogue's Ring is the one related to subterfuge, making a decoy. The sorcerer gets the Talrasha ring that is that multi-element buff. The barb gets a ring that buffs Hoda, Upheaval, and Deathblow, giving you that guaranteed bonus crit. The druid's power is ultimate related. And the necro gets everyone's fan favorite, automatically activating all nearby corpses to either raise skeleton, corpse explosion, or corpse tendrils on them. Patch notes can be found on the Diablo 4 website already for these. Then on December 5th, we're getting another update. The Occultist is now getting the ability to preview what you can enchant. So now you can know, okay, is it worth me re-rolling this? Can I actually get the affix that I want? This is a great change. I'm glad it is now in the game. We had this in D3, it was essential. They also have some plans to talk about changes to affixes and itemization in the future. They hinted at the possible reduction of the affix pool, but more on that in a bit. Next, they're adding the Abattoir of Zhir. This is because they want to add more and more endgame content over time, and this is their first offering here. This is new pinnacle content, is what Joe Shelley confirmed to me in our interview. This is for once you have reached level 100 and completed your season journey. In general, though, they want to add more permanent or evergreen endgame content from both 50 to 100 and even thereafter. But Zhir, the Abattoir of Zhir, particularly, is a temporary event. Again, it's for level 100 plus, and they want to see the feedback. They want to see how it goes before they decide to bring it back permanently. I think it's a great idea to always test things in seasons first, because then you can always retool it and bring it back. It's easier to fix things if they're just temporary as opposed to, oh, well, we added this to the base game and now, whoops. So you must have completed your season journey to participate in the Abattoir of Zhir, and it's going to be very, very, very difficult. Only the very best builds can succeed here. So what's going to happen is you complete your season journey and get a recipe to unlock Tier 1 or to try out Tier 1 of the Abattoir. If you beat Tier 1, you get a recipe for Tier 2. There's 25 tiers in total, and the difference in difficulty between tiers is much more dramatic than in Nightmare Dungeons. What reward do you get for this? Well, you get a buttload of Paragon Glyph XP. You're also getting a new unique glyph, which is crazy powerful. There's no way this can make it into the base game. It is insanely powerful, giving multiplicative damage bonuses. It can be leveled up to 200 times. This is absolutely the season of bonkers crazy power. Then more is coming. December 12th, we're getting the Midwinter Blight event. This is the sort of Christmas event coming to Diablo. It's going to take place in the Fractured Peaks. It's all themed very Diablo-esque. You start off in Kyovashad, you're going to meet a wandering bard. There's going to be some kind of little narrative there going on, but basically these sinister snowmen have cropped up throughout the Fractured Peaks. It looks like we're going to have reskinned familiar foes who are going to be under some new allegiance, revering these snowmen. They're causing mischief and terror. You go out into the wilds, you'll find them dancing around these abominable snowmen, Game of Thrones looking effigies. There's going to be new events to participate in, and your goal is to basically disrupt their rituals, give them a general hard time, until you do enough to summon the Red Cloak Terror. This is either their leader or something. He looks like a mixture of Krampus and the fake monsters from the village. Throughout these events, you get resources, you return this resource to town, turn it in to progress the event, and earn cosmetic rewards. Then as for Season 3, which has no revealed name yet, we're getting more endgame coming, we're getting leaderboards. Once you unlock World Tier 4, you can now compete in the Gauntlet. This is the leaderboard activity. And it's very similar, it sounds like, to Challenge Rifts in Diablo 3, except you take your own character into them. So basically there's going to be a fixed dungeon. Every time you run it, it's always the exact same dungeon, the exact same random seed, if that means anything to you. It's going to be the same monsters, the same layout, everything identical. And you run through this, and your objective is to get a top score. You want to gather as many points as possible, basically. These dungeons have non-linear layouts, however, so you can try going either left this time or right, or if you're in a party, you can split up. Throughout this entire dungeon, no loot drops. It all drops at the end. You're on a timer. The loot drops once the timer expires. And basically, as you kill monsters, you get these points. And you are collecting these points. You want to maximize your score by the time the timer runs out. There's going to be a leaderboard for these, which reset each week once you get a new Gauntlet dungeon. And these leaderboards will be divided by solo or by party size, also by class if you're doing solo, by hardcore, of course. You can even sort them globally or by platform. And you can begin participating in this, again, as soon as you unlock World Tier 4. But in order to place on the leaderboards, you must reach some minimum rank, it sounds like. So some minimum amount of points, then you achieve the rank of the Worthy. Once you are there, you then start to place on those leaderboards. And the very best players at the end of every week get recorded in the Hall of Ancients. Now, there's different seals that you get. So the rank of the worthy is something you get once you reach a certain seal. There might be even higher seals than that. There are lower seals than that, and you can somehow show off these seals either as some kind of cosmetic, or it seems somewhere in your profile you can show these off. So even if you don't make the leaderboards, you can say, hey, you know, I earned this bronze seal or what have you. More info on this will be available on the Diablo 4 website. We ended with some Q&A. The devs were asked if they had plans to add more intermediate content between Tier 4 and Uber Lilith, and the answer is yes, they're working on it. Later they said that when the expansion launches, they are planning on having stuff for eternal players, stuff for seasonal players, stuff for expansion players. It sounds like they don't want to leave anyone behind. They want to make sure all their players have stuff to do. On the topic of some kind of armory, like in Diablo 3, the ability to save and swap builds, it's something they've been talking about for a very long time. It sounds like there are members of the team that really are pushing for this to happen. So they do want to give us an easy way to switch between builds, but they currently have no ETA other than they're trying to make it happen as soon as possible. Season 2 introduced a resource that you can farm called Living Steel. You need this to fight one of the Uber bosses. When asked if they'd be giving us more sources of being able to acquire this Living Steel, they said that they do want to make improvements there. They understand that they're currently stingy in their ways of us acquiring that. On the topic of social features like a group finder or global chat, they said they want to get these tools in place before the expansion launches. As for the big topic, itemization, they're not ready to talk much about this, but they are working on problems that they have seen people bring up about itemization. They brought up the Carbot video where the barbarian is trying to cross-reference two different items that have a bunch of different affixes, and you can't tell whether you're actually gaining damage or losing damage. They admit that it's too difficult to compare items currently. They admit that some affixes are way too conditional, damage on Tuesday kind of thing, and they think that there are too many of those kind of affixes, and these kind of affixes can be too hard to bring into builds. And they do want us that when we are optimizing our gear, they want us to be able to tell that, yes, this change has made a difference. So on a personal note, this leads me to believe that we're probably going to see a reduction in affixes. They also added that they want to add more ways to modify items and add additional complexity with respect to crafting system. So interesting to see what they cook up there. Also another big one, aspects. So they said probably not for Season 3, but soon after. They want to get aspects out of our inventory and into the Codex of Power, so that's not going to be cluttering our inventory anymore. I cannot wait to see what they do with regards to this. So overall, I think we've heard some fantastic news today. This has been a great BlizzCon. Tons of stuff coming to D4. Tons of positive news here. I cannot get over how much stuff is coming to Season 2, which has already been a massive season. A massive win for the game. Did it fix everything? No. Is it a massive step in the right direction? Absolutely. People have been saying for a while, or in Season 1 or before, people were saying, yeah, give it 2 years and Diablo 4 will be a great game. At the pace the team has been going now, I don't think it's going to be 2 years anymore. But I turn the question to you folks. What do you think of all this? Are you happy with the changes? Are you happy with the news? Sound off in the comments. I'll likely have more videos in the future once I return from my BlizzCon trip, where we can speculate endlessly about what that new class might be. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more Diablo content.